Jim, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk with us today to share some hope with people here in Stark County, here at the Phoenix House. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, whether it was your family life, your socioeconomic background, trauma that you may have experienced.
Well, I was born in 1957 in Alliance, Ohio, to a family of Italians. And I had my first drink when I was 5 years old. And I became intoxicated. And of course, at the time, my family didn't know anything about alcoholism. They didn't know they were doing anything wrong because that was the culture of their country. And that's where it began. That's where my drinking career began. Unfortunately, they didn't realize that I was doomed for a life of a disease that I have to work on a daily basis. So every day I have to work on my recovery. As soon as I wake up in the morning, in the daytime, I pray. At night, I go to meetings every week, 3 meetings a week. I'm 66 years old now, and these have been the best 10 years of my life. Because for 40 years, all I did was drink and drug. And it got worse, it got bad. So I don't blame my family for my alcoholism, but it's something that I made a choice to continue doing as I got older in life, so I don't blame them at all.
What was your first use like? Do you remember what your first use was, and what did it look like?
I was probably 10 years old, and we were experimenting. We were young, me and my friends, and we didn't have, when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of like TV and computers and those kinds of things, so we spent a great deal of time outdoors, and we would experiment. We'd go and get a bottle of wine, and we would drink it, see how we felt. And then it just started like that, and it just progressively got worse as the years went on.
Did you experiment with other substances as well? Or was
Yes.
It just okay.
When I was in high school, about 18 years old, I started experimenting with marijuana and PCP, were the two drugs in our area at the time that was quite frequently used. And of course, when I was young, the drugs weren't poison like they are. They are tainted with the fentanyl now. So,
Can you share a funny or tragic story that highlights your use?
I would say tragic, probably. It took a lot of tragedy. My last couple, 2 or 3 years of drinking was a lot of downfall. Was a lot of bereavement. I had become sick inside internally, and they had to remove a foot of my colon on an emergency operation because my colon had an abscess and it bursted inside of me because of the alcoholism. And so they had to remove a foot of my colon. I died on the operating table, they told me, and they revived me. And between there and my room, I had what I considered an out-of-body experience. Because I knew it was almost a dream state, but I was in my robe still, or my gown from the hospital, and I'm floating down the hallway, and I'm seeing people, nurses and everything, and it's like nobody seeing me. And then a voice yelled, "Go back, it's not your time," and I woke up in my bed with all these tubes in me. And I couldn't talk because I had tubes in me down my throat and everything. And I had sepsis. I had attained sepsis from the operation because of my alcoholism. And the doctor had told me after that that if I continued drinking on this path, that I would probably not live long.
How are your relationships with your family and friends?
Relationships are better today. I work a 12-step program, and I've made a great deal of amends that I had to do. And the family, of course, I wrecked more than anybody with my drinking because I was selfish and self-centered, which is the main focus of the disease. I didn't care about anybody else but myself. I put myself on a pedestal, and nobody else meant anything to me.
During your use, how did your employment, mental health, and spirituality was affected by it?
It was like I had become numb to everything that I had learned. That included the morals and ethics of our society. I had become numb and just didn't care about it. And spiritually, I was raised in a church. I believed in God, but I turned my back because I turned towards the drugs and the alcohol for escape instead of turning towards my higher power, which I should have done, way I was taught when I was young. But this disease is cunning, baffling, powerful. We don't know when it just creeps up on us. It's waiting for us.
At what point did you recognize that you had a problem?
I think it was when my family finally, they just couldn't take it anymore. I wasn't getting up to go to work on some mornings. I wasn't helping any financially. I was sick. I was becoming a burden, not only to my family, but probably to society. And that's what happens with this disease. That's where it takes us.
Other than physical consequences, did you have any legal consequences?
Yes, I was arrested a few times for domestic violence. Threatened a guy with a knife once. And it was only because, when you're intoxicated or high, you're not thinking things through thoroughly before you act, and you just react to things people do. Like they cut me off, so I just chased them. And then the police, I'm going to jail next thing I know. And so that's the other thing, is the consequences of the law is very costly. That we have to remember that it takes a toll on us.
What happened when you decided to get help?
Well, my family, one day I came home from the bar, and they put all my stuff out on the curb, and they told me, don't come back till you get help. So I had talked to my friend who is a pastor at a church, and he told me he would get me into a treatment facility. And I had been homeless for 2 weeks at the time, and I was just in bad shape. I was really sick. I couldn't afford booze, so I couldn't. The sickness was intolerable. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I went with my pastor. He took me to the treatment facility, and that's where I got help.
What kind of support helped you the most in your early recovery?
Well, probably treatment, the counselors, and my pastors just were really connected because we went to high school together and we graduated together. We both had the same disease together, so we have an association, and working the steps with my sponsor. That was the main thing that saved my life.
What does your recovery look like today?
It's I can almost say it takes my breath away, because it's like I have been reborn and placed in a completely different place in life. And my whole life and outlook on life and everything has changed. Much more positive today. I don't have all the burdens that I was carrying with me. I'm developing my credit today. My credit score is it's getting near 800, which is amazing. It's been a wonderful journey, and I met some of the greatest people on this journey. And I had thought that I was doomed for life until I had met this wonderful life of recovery, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I just have things today, and it's this wonderful life. I have a family connection today. Everything is just turning out really well today. I just love my life today.
Can you share any stigmas that you may have faced while you were recovering from family, friends, community, employers, healthcare?
I would say mostly family. And I think it's because family isn't educated enough on this disease if they don't know anybody that has it. Or they're just not educated on what the disease is. My one younger brother, he'll still today say, well, you could have just quit. Why didn't you just quit? So I try to explain it to him. My older brother, he understands that when I explain how the disease works and what I have to do on a daily basis to recover, and it's just that's the kind of stigma that we have in our society today that we need to that we're working on in our recovery center that I work at. We're trying to develop ways to rid us of the stigma, and that we're human beings and that we have a sickness and we need help. And that when we get the help, we're the people that we're meant to be in life.
How has recovery helped to heal relationships?
Well, I have become a better person in society overall, I feel. I really wasn't a nice person before, not law-abiding or anything like that. It's not how I grew up, but that's how I ended up because of this disease. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, sometimes I'm lost for words when it comes to recovery and my own personal recovery, because life just couldn't be as grand as it is today.
What have you learned about yourself from your recovery and addiction?
That I had something before, that drive and that determination and discipline when I was in the military, and I never really lost it. I had it. It helped me in recovery. It's helped me up to this point. That it's given me more positive and a direct way to deal with a lot of my problems and other people's problems. I help other veterans also today. I work with veterans also. There's nobody that's immune from this disease, and there's no discrimination. This disease affects many people.
Did you experience any trauma or anything like that while in the military?
Well, I watched my best friend get run over by a tank, and that put a damper on things. That was a traumatic experience in my life. And drinking didn't do anything with it anyway. So the hardest part was going to tell his wife, who he had just married 3 weeks before. So yeah, I experienced some trauma, but I expected some trauma. That's what I wanted in my life, because I wanted to be a soldier, and I knew that trauma came with it. You're fighting a war. You're fighting. I was going to serve my country. That's what I was wanting to do.
Describe a feeling that you have in your recovery that was not there during your active use.
True happiness, true joy today. I mean, where I can actually laugh without being under the influence. It's an amazing feeling. I go to the gym now, and I'll get those endorphins going, and I'll start to laugh towards the end of my workout. People will be like looking at me like, "What's wrong with that guy?" And I'm like, "It's natural. It's something today I didn't have before. Before I was using drugs and stuff. I might have played sports, but we get high."
In your recovery, what dreams do you have for the future?
Well, pretty much near my retirement. But I made a commitment to God when I surrendered to Him in that jail cell that bleak day in my life. I decided that day that if God gave me another chance at life, that I was going to spend the rest of my living days helping another person out with this disease. And that's what I was going to do.
Okay. Into the camera, I want you to just share some inspiration and hope for those who are still struggling with substances.
Well, I'm Jim Venables, and I'm 66 years old. I didn't get this till I was 55, and I really shouldn't say that. That's wrong. Never say you got this, because this disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. But I want you to know that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. There is a light, and I see it on a daily basis. So it's never too late to get help, and it's nothing wrong with asking for help. I'm a soldier. It was hard for me, but I did it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And it makes your life better. It changes your whole life, and everything becomes better, and your connections with your family. Things just turn out really well in your life, and it's something that we have to work on. There is no cure, so get help now.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers?
Don't wait so long. I waited too many years. It took a pretty bad toll on me physically and psychologically too. And some of it's being repaired, but get it now. Open up that door and go in and get the help, because if you don't, it may be too late.
Jim, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us and share some of your inspiration and hope with those who need to hear it the most. Your story will help to spread awareness, humanize addiction, end stigma, and inspire hope one story at a time.
I hope so.